So here we are once more, and now we're going to be talking about our model. And just before we'll start, I'd like to talk to you about Gamma, just my Gamma setup, so you can work in the same form and you can accompany everything in the same way. So I just enable it. We're going to be working in a linear mode. If you're not sure about this, I suggest you Google it just because there is so much more out there and it's quite an in-depth subject in itself. So what I do is I will select to affect color selectors, affect material editor. I'll input to 2.2 and output to 1.0. And I will be doing my 2.2 correction of gamma in V-Ray. So let's go into our V-Ray render setup. V-Ray, I'll be using frame buffer. So what you render is what you get when you save out through the frame buffer with this method. I will select color mapping and go into linear multiply and select 2.2 gamma, effect background and subpixel mapping. So okay, we now have our gamma. I will show you how I've set up our model. It's a basic model and it's just some basic poly modeling techniques. And I'll just quickly zoom around just to show you, get rid of that. So let's hide our grid, just G. So as you can see, it's just spline modeling with some sweeps. I won't go too into depth on that. Just a small trick that I will show you to get some nice colors going and some nice reflections going is actually in regards to windows and interior lighting. So as you can see, I've got an exterior pane of glass and I've got an interior one. The interior one I will map with a light material. So I'll just hit M. Here is our light material that I've created through V-Ray. Just come here in our V-Ray settings and V-Ray material. So we have I've set it to 20 as I'm using a V-Ray camera, and I will just hit the opacity where I've put in the same map, so that will make it transparent. As we can see here, should be lighting up. There we go. And so that is our basic, just to show that we have some activity on the interior. I will also show you just a quick render that I did previously to actually adding that light material. And as you can see, there wasn't much going on the inside. So I really thought that it needed some activity, as it was starting to look actually quite like a flying saucer. And that's not exactly what I pretend here. So I'll just talk a little about the materials. I'll just unhide all, right click, unhide all. I just hit perspective. As you can see, I've got my dome light, which I'll talk about later on. But the materials is just very basic materials. I'll just hit the slider and pick. So we have for our concrete, I'll show you, just let that load up. So we have our concrete. We've just selected a nice simple concrete texture. There we go. And our concrete texture is just added with some reflection, amped up the glossiness to 0.68. And as I was saying, we're far away, and I think the magic for me happens in post. So I use basic materials, so I don't spend too much time rendering, and I just really try and amp it up in post, and if I need more dirt, I'll just overlay it. Just a basic bump, and just the reflectivity to catch a bit of the sky that we have in our image. Next, we will go on to just the glass. So our glass material, actually, sorry, I have that here already, but it didn't pick up. So let's just to show you that I'm picking up the correct one. Here we go. So we have our black diffuse, reflective. I always use near white, just so it's not totally reflective. Fresnel reflections. So you can have, that's another important subject on itself, Fresnel. But it basically means as things are parallel to you, they become more reflective. So imagine just a plane of glass running alongside you, and that you've made this plane of glass just parallels to your eye. As it gets more and more parallel, you will see that it actually becomes totally reflective. And that's just a really simple way of explaining it. As you can see, the refraction is also close to white. And I've just amped up the index of refraction, so we will have more reflection actually, and it will reflect a lot more. So that, I think, pretty much concludes for now the materials and the basic setup of the model. And in the next one, we'll be talking about preparing the proxy trees and also the lighting and just preparing our cameras. So I will see you in the next lesson.